Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining early. We are scheduled to start at 12:15 until 12:30 for our Wellness Wednesday presentation today. If there are any questions while we're waiting to get started, please feel free to submit them in the Microsoft Teams Q&A feature. I will be checking questions throughout the session today. Again, thanks for joining. We'll get started soon. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining today's Wellness Wednesday presentation with Geisinger. My name is Michael. I'm a health coach, and our topic today is the FITT exercise recommendations, FITT. So we'll discuss what that stands for and how you can apply this principle to your exercise regimen. Just some housekeeping items. There is a Microsoft Teams Q&A feature. So if you did have a question, I ask that you please submit it using that Microsoft Teams Q&A feature. It should be at the top of your screen if you're joining using the Microsoft Teams platform. We are scheduled until 12:30 today. So the Wellness Wednesday, it's a 15-minute presentation. And again, thank you so much for joining. We're going to hop right in. An important disclaimer here. So exercise is not without its risks. Individuals, especially those with pre-existing conditions or past injuries, should consult with their healthcare provider before beginning an exercise program. If at any point while exercising you feel faint, dizzy, or experience any pain or physical discomfort, you should stop immediately and consult a healthcare provider. Content provided is just for informational purposes only, and it is not intended to be medical advice. Please consult your healthcare provider with any questions. All right, again, welcome to Wellness Wednesday. If you're just joining, my name is Michael, I'm a health coach, and we'll be talking about an important exercise principle called the FITT principle. That's F-I-T-T. And this is really important because, for a lot of us, when it comes to our workouts, there's so many variables that go into it. How much should you exercise? How frequently? How long should you be working out for? What intensity do I need to work out at in order to see results? And the list goes on. And so discussing this principle as well as some of the basic exercise recommendations, I'm hoping that after today's session, you'll have more insight into some of these questions here, how to build an exercise regimen or how to add variety to your current regimen. And we want to do that safely and effectively. Just to note, I will be sending out, most likely I'll have permission to do this. I just need to double check, but I will plan to send out these PowerPoint slides. And again, if you are just joining, please feel free to submit any questions you have using the Microsoft Teams Q&A feature. So the FITT principle, F-I-T-T, what does that stand for? It's frequency, intensity, time, and type. And this is a helpful, easy way to remember the different exercise variables so that you can manipulate those variables to avoid plateaus that might happen in our fitness journey and how to keep your body challenged and engaged during your workout. So all of these levers can be pulled to improve your fitness. It can help with weight management and again, overcoming any plateaus while still working towards those results that you're putting effort into. And this is important because pretty much all of us will experience a plateau if we do the same workout for a long time. The good thing is your body begins to adjust to it as you improve fitness, but it's something that you constantly need to update in order to continue to see those benefits. So again, FITT is frequency, intensity, time, and type, and we'll learn more about each of those now. Frequency is simply how often you're active, how many times a day or week are you being active? In the grand scheme of things, pretty much everyone should be active for 5 or more days a week. If you're currently not there, that's okay. Any exercise is better than zero exercise. And so we do encourage you to start slowly and gradually increase the amount of exercise you do. If you're someone who is a beginner, maybe about 2 to 3 days a week of cardiovascular activity or aerobic activity, that's sometimes called. Sometimes it's shortened to cardio activity, things like walking, running, swimming, etc. We encourage you to consider gradually increasing that to at least 5 days a week to see even more benefits of exercise. And if you're someone who's really experienced with cardio activity, if you're doing 5 or more days a week already, consider adding in 2 days of strength training. Strength training plus cardio exercise, that's a really powerful combination, and you're going to see a lot of benefits to that. So again, if you're not there yet, that's okay. We encourage you to build up to that. All right, so that's frequency. Simply how much exercise you're doing, how often. The next letter of the FITT principle is I, that's intensity, and that's simply how hard the activity feels to you, how challenging that is, and that's something that's completely up to you. This varies from person to person. Some signs of intensity include your breathing, your heart rate, your amount of sweat that you're producing, and muscle fatigue. There are two relatively easy ways to measure this, simply how you feel. So you can describe that and your heart rate. We'll discuss heart rate in more detail and what to look out for there. So again, we're on the second letter of FITT here. Some more about intensity. Another great way to think of this is the perceived exertion. And again, how hard the exercise feels to you. There are two types of exertion we can think about, moderate and vigorous. Moderate, a good rule of thumb there, if you can speak and carry on a conversation, chances are you're at the moderate intensity. You will be somewhat challenged and breathing a little bit more deeply and probably sweating a little bit, but you can maintain a moderate intensity for some time. And again, you can speak. At a vigorous intensity, things will feel more challenging. Your breathing will deepen and become quicker, and you'll be sweating pretty shortly after you start a vigorous activity. You can't really say much. And if you do try to speak, you'll probably have to pause and catch your breath in between words. So those are the two types of activity. And these are important to keep in mind, just how intensely are you exercising? And this leads nicely into the heart rate zones. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Again, I will be planning to send out this PowerPoint for you to look at in more detail. But at the very least, we should be thinking about our maximum heart rate. That is essentially the upper limit of how much intensity your body can handle during physical activity. So the upper limit of what your cardiovascular system can handle during activity. So it's important to be aware of what your upper limit is. There's a relatively simple way to estimate that, and it's 220 minus your age. So 220 minus your age equals your your maximum heart rate zone. So for example, if you're 25 years old, your maximum heart rate, that's about 195. And the unit here for that is the heartbeats per minute. So beats per minute. If you're 65 years old, your maximum heart rate is about 155. So feel free to take a second to calculate your own maximum heart rate. That leads nicely into our next kind of range that we're discussing today, your target heart rate zone. And this estimate is about 50 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. That's going to give you your moderate exercise intensity range. Again, that's 50 to 70% of your max heart rate. Vigorous is 70 to 85% of your maximum heart rate. So now that you know the ranges, how can you tell if you're actually in that range? Some activity trackers will do this, some smart watches will estimate your heart rate, so you can rely on that, or you can Just stop briefly during your workout and take your pulse. When you're taking your pulse, you're going to do that for about 10 seconds. Count up how many heartbeats you detect in those 10 seconds and multiply that number by 6. And that will estimate your heart rate during that workout. And ideally you'd compare that against your target heart rate zone. Again, I know that was a lot. I will plan to send this PowerPoint out via email if you need to look at that again. All right. And then just a takeaway here, last point here on intensity. Everyone should be aiming for at least a moderate intensity, a rate that allows you to talk. It's important to factor in warm up, cool down, and stretching as well. If you are more experienced, we do encourage you to ramp up the intensity a little bit, especially if you feel that you're at a plateau. You can increase the speed, the incline, if you're on a treadmill, for example, or just walking up a hill, running up a hill instead of a flat surface. If you're doing strength training, you can consider adding resistance or reducing the rest time. So lots of different ways to manipulate intensity. So that's intensity. So now we're on the first of 2 T's with the FITT principle. So we're on F.I.T.T. T is time, and that's simply how long you're active. Generally speaking, a bout of exercise should be at least 10 minutes, aiming for about 30 minutes a day. A little more if weight loss is a goal of yours, about 60 minutes a day for weight loss. If you're not there yet, that's okay. Some is better than none. We encourage you to consider gradually increasing that for your cardiovascular exercise. And when it comes to weightlifting, about an hour-long session at the most should be enough. A lot of times people will not see much benefit beyond an hour of strength training. But again, that's a personal decision. No matter where you are right now in terms of your regimen, take stock of how much time you're spending exercising and set a goal based on that. If you're someone who's not exercising right now, you probably don't want to start working out 2 hours tomorrow, right? So just gradually build up. And the last letter here of the FITT principle is type. So that's simply what type of activity are you doing? All types are important. We emphasized aerobic and strength training so far in this session. Another important one is flexibility, things like stretching or yoga. If you feel like one area might be lacking, it could be really beneficial to add a little bit more of that into your regimen. It can help overcome plateaus, and it could be fun, right? You can do something like a dance class, you can do Zumba, you could swim. So whatever type of movement feels fun to you should definitely be emphasized. And again, the 3 types are generally aerobic or cardio, strength training, and flexibility. And that is the second of 2 T's. So again, FITT is frequency, intensity, time, and type. And I'd like for you to apply this principle to this scenario listed here on the PowerPoint. So let's say you are walking 3 times a week for 20 minutes. Using the FITT principle, how can you adjust this workout to increase fitness? So feel free to submit your ideas here using the Q&A feature. And we'll go one by one here. So how can you increase the frequency of this type of exercise? Again, you're walking 20 minutes for 3 times a week. How can you increase that frequency? So if you're thinking to yourself, simply add in more days. That's exactly what we're thinking as well. Even one more day a week of that 20 minutes could go a long way. Next up, we have intensity. How can you adjust the intensity of this workout regimen? You can add short bursts of power walking, jogging, or even going up some hills. Next up, we have the time. Perfect. Thanks, Charlene. Sure, you said walking 4 times a week. Perfect. I'm seeing that in the chat here. Exactly. When it comes to time, you can add 10 to 15 minutes to that workout, so instead of 20, do 30 minutes and so on. And I know I'm moving quick here. In the interest of time, the last letter here is type. So you can experiment with cycling, swimming, aerobics, or another form of exercise. Awesome. I appreciate all the answers I'm seeing in the chat. Thank you for participating. And I think you're all spot on, walking for longer, adding more days, increasing the pace. Exactly. All right. So in conclusion, I know I'm skipping through some things here. I would like to call out a great online resource offered to Geisinger Health Plan members or to those who have an employer wellness program that includes Wellness Online Access. So Wellness Online is a great way to look for videos. You can see here, you can look into workout videos with this online platform. The instructions are listed here, geisingerhealthplan.com. Registration is required. And I will leave it open to questions. So if there were any questions, if you'd like more detail on anything, please put them in the chat. I will stick around to do my best with any questions you might have. If you did not have any questions, thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate your time today and stay in touch if we can help in any way. Awesome. Yeah. So someone said that they find going at an incline works really well. I'm glad to hear that. It's, a nice way to add some intensity there. And you don't even have to add more time necessarily to that workout. So it's a nice, efficient way of increasing your fitness. Great question. So the question is, are there any yoga videos on wellness online? And I will be very honest, I'm not sure. My hunch would be yes, because that is such a common type of exercise. So I would imagine there are, but I don't know offhand, unfortunately. I can get back to you on that once I find out. Again, thank you so much for joining, everyone. Keep those questions coming if you have any. I will do my best to answer them. And then, like I said, I will look into distributing the PowerPoint slides so you can explore this topic even more on your own. Yeah, great question. So, question I'm seeing here, if you have a difficult time walking, can you ride a bike instead? Absolutely, yeah. With exercise, I think enjoying it is really important and doing it safely as well, right? So if you're having some difficulty with the walking, you know, and biking is a better option, I would absolutely consider that. It's a great question for your doctor as well, just to make sure you're being safe. But yes, I think any sort of movement is better than zero movement. I think with the walking, that was just a common example that I was using throughout the presentation, but anything will provide benefit, right? So I do encourage you to consider what works best for you.